You're familiar with the Wachowskis, the trans men, well, trans women, I guess. I always don't know how to say this. Basically, men who are acting as women, living as women. These are the film and television directors who gave you the Matrix franchise. Lily Wachowski, who was born Andy Wachowski, man living as a woman, and so is her brother Larry, who goes by Lana. And so obviously these are very talented writers and directors and producers. Not only The Matrix, which of course, shot them into stardom, but also they did V for Vendetta, they did Cloud Atlas. They've done some really good movies. But I mean, this shouldn't be that surprising. Actually, you can be talented and troubled. In point of fact, as we've seen, often the two are sort of directly proportional. Lily Wachowski gave an interview a few years ago that is making the rounds again because of the zeitgeist of our time, about how how he decided to live as a she. What turned him?
To be honest, like for me, the people that I saw, the first images that really struck a chord with me were, trans women and pornography. And there was something that unlocked in my brain that I saw these wonderful, fearless performers becoming desirable. And in my head, I could take the leap where I felt like, well, if I could be desirable, then maybe I could be loved. And for me, that's like one of the keys that trans people have to struggle through. Will somebody love me? And so, yeah, that's my answer, Nick Adams.
That's an excellent answer, Lily Wachowski.
It's an interesting answer. And by the way, the fact that these two brothers both are trans women, that doesn't speak to a social contagion. I mean, what are the odds of that? Also, too, what he said there, feeling lonely, feeling unloved, and then watching pornography and saying, "Oh, this is how I become alluring and can find love." That is a great insight. That I was born in the wrong body. That's not what he's saying there. That's not what he's saying at all. That's somebody who was struggling mentally and thought this was the way out. Obviously, clearly still does. I just thought it's very interesting. It's a very telling answer for somebody who's as high profile as Wachowski. And maybe that's something that people would want to consider when they're told to run headlong in the direction of wherever their prepubescent child says to go because they're feeling lonely or unloved or undesired as they make their way through, the high school cafeteria. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Peachy Keenan. That is a pseudonym, as I
love it,
hope you picked up on. She is a writer and mother living deep behind enemy lines, senior contributor for The Federalist, contributing editor to The American Mind, and the new book, Domestic Extremist. That just got her on the Garland list. Yeah. Domestic Extremist, A Practical Guide to Winning the Culture War. That's available June 6th. Peachy Keenan, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, you're welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. So what about that? What's your reaction to that Wachowski commentary and sort of in the context of all this push that's happening, in every institution and most disturbingly in children's hospitals to mutilate young children?
Yeah, I mean, the Wachowskis are a great advertisement for, not doing that. If you take a good look at those two, they're like poster boys for, kids, you do not take this approach with your life. You're not going to come out the other end, looking good or with any semblance of normalcy. I mean, I think it's really telling, the quote that you just played, when he said he looked at the transgender pornography and saw women being loved.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, pornography is not romance. You
Well,
know,
too.
those women are
Yeah.
not being loved and like finding, passionate intimacy with like a life partner. It's pornography. They're being paid. You know, it's like a fetish, a sexual fetish type of pornography that can definitely warp your brain. And so I don't know what he's talking about. I think, just the other day they had in California, a young girl was denied. She got fourth place in a track meet. I don't know if you guys saw this.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, and the boy the boy just beat her, and and what is she now? She can't go to the CIF finals. She's denied scholarships, and and these little boys, it's tragic for them too, and they're running around with ponytails, and they're not girls, and they're just being lied to. And are they going to end up like the Wachowskis, watching this like really demonic pornography? What's the end game for them? I mean, what we have to kind of.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but are they going to end up like Chloe Cole, who mutilated herself and detransitioned, and now she's a courageous young woman to do what she's doing, but now is essentially going around the country serving as a cautionary tale.
Yeah, I mean, the detransitioners are really like the vanguard, and it's really telling that they're totally ignored, by the transgender activists. They're blackballed, they're lied about, they're hated. They're just they're like committing treason, to the cause. And so, my book is a really response to this. I mean, we're not the extremists. They are, obviously. The Wachowskis and the people pushing little boys to compete against girls, those are the extremists. And so my title obviously is ironic because we're just kind of normal people. I'm a mother. I'm trying to sort of survive this new landscape. And it's just crazy. Every day I wake up and I see the news. I'm just like, we've gone just one notch crazier today.
Yeah, and what's crazy is Artemis Langford, a 21-year-old man who says he's a trans, 6'2", 260 pounds, who's a Kappa Kappa Gamma.
Oh, right, the Wyoming sorority. Yeah, I mean, what happened to women's rights? What happened to Me Too with girls? If a boy even so much as looked as a girl the wrong way at college, he would be accused of rape. He would be kicked out. That was just a few years ago.
Right.
And now you have these hulking guys in the dorm rooms, in the locker rooms, encouraged to look at the girls changing. And if the girls complain, they're kicked out. We've just got, feminism the feminists have found a new woman they like best. And that woman is a man.
Something else you've written about recently, we referenced one of your columns on Jordan Neely and Daniel Penny and the New York City subway. You had some experience on the subway in New York City for a time, and you wrote quite colorfully about it. And we've had another woman who was pushed in front of an oncoming train, and she's in critical condition. And New York Times did this piece asking, people about what their main concern is in terms of using public transportation in New York, and they said safety, obviously. But, safety can take many forms, and that can mean many things, even though we're talking about public transportation. The culture in big cities, starting with New York, since you know it well, that just refuses to acknowledge what is happening, and even more to the point, refuses to make any course correction in response.
Yeah, I mean, the left, when they think of safety now, it's safety from police. It's safety from arrest. You're safe to commit any crime you want without the fear of being, having 911 called on you. That's safety. You're safe from hate speech. You're safe from racism. You're safe from all these things. But actual physical safety is, that's sort of totally ignored. That's just totally secondary. And you have women trying to get to work, walking home at night, being attacked, being robbed. And that's just but that disrupts the narrative of the only safety they want to think about, which is the safety of, their constituency who feel under attack by these, kind of invisible forces all around them, systemic racism and whatever. And yes, women are being pushed in front of trains. Women are being raped. Women are being robbed. stores are being looted. We've had these videos here in California of just like teams of guys on bikes pulling people out of cars in downtown LA and beating them on the street, middle of the day, going into stores, and really not a peep. Like nothing happens, no one cares, because that's not the kind of safety that they're worried about. And like the safety of our children, like the safety of girls going to sororities, going to play sports, that is just totally not even on their radar. And here we are sitting here like, well, what about I don't want to be shot. It's very, very simple. I don't want to be pushed in front of a train.
Well, what are some things, look back to the children, what are some things that parents can do to help guide their children away from destructive temptations and towards the things that will make them happier in the long run?
Yeah, I mean, that's the real trick, isn't it? That's like kind of the long game that we have to start playing and really stop reacting to every I hate this Disney movie has this wrong with it, or this is these sort of short-term, kind of obstacles that we have to jump over constantly as a parent, and we can kind of forget that we're in this for the long term. I'm in this for grandchildren, and I'm in this to protect those future grandchildren and make sure that we all kind of come out of this okay. And that really does start with, at home, teaching these kids things that, like, you're not going to find at Disneyland, things that are timeless, that are eternal, like the importance of your family, the importance of learning the truth. There are only two genders. I mean, I literally I have to tell this to my kids. We go to the zoo, and I'm like, look at all these animals. Guess what? They only come in two kinds, male and female, and that's it. And they just kind of grow up kind of understanding the truth and that some people are kind of nuts, and the importance of one day finding a spouse, getting married, and having children. And I have a fairly large family for Southern California, and they know a lot of people who have more than one or two kids, who go to mass on a regular basis, who believe in something besides just the short term pop culture, like dopamine hits that we're kind of given and like online and on the internet and on social media. And we try to kind of look at what they're watching. We're not Amish. They have access to these things. That toothpaste is out of the tube, but you do need to just use care and caution and hope. I mean, nothing's foolproof, but we're really definitely trying to do our best to raise them to be, for lack of a better term, domestic extremists, to be extremely domestic, to prioritize the things that are kind of known throughout history that tend to make people happier over the long term.
She is Peachy Keenan. That's a pseudonym for writer and mom living in, as she mentioned, California. Senior contributor, Federalist, contributing editor of The American Mind. The new book, Domestic Extremist, A Practical Guide to Winning the Culture War. Pick it up, and you should also subscribe to her Substack as well. She has a Substack. Peachy Keenan, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, guys. Take care.
Thank you, and she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning.